happening tonight in Vancouver.
No vaccine appointments needed across BC for Walk-In Wednesday as the province pushes to get shots into unvaccinated people.
Women like me, immigrants, women in color are struggling, are suffering, losing their job.
They feel hopeless and are desperate to be heard. A number of women of color, many of whom are working moms, say they're being unfairly targeted by layoffs in BC's hospitality sector. Now, a number of groups have signed a letter asking for these workers to be able to return to their jobs.
They're likened to rotting fish, dirty socks, sort of old garbage.
The corpse flower will be back in full bloom, and I'm trying to get my first ever whiff of its nasty stench to find out why thousands line up for this infamous BC attraction.
This is City News Everywhere.
BC's COVID numbers are going in the wrong direction. We've recorded 342 new cases in the last 24 hours. Half of those new cases are in the interior, which has been dealing with an outbreak for weeks. This latest caseload is up 41% compared to Friday's numbers. Hospitalization numbers have risen a bit too. No new deaths have been reported in the last day, and almost 68% of eligible people here have had both shots.
In an effort to ramp up COVID-19 vaccinations across BC, clinics across the province are opening up for Walk-In Wednesday, where people who haven't gotten their first or second shot can do so without an appointment.
Well, we're expecting hundreds of people to walk into this clinic and at all of our clinics. We've got lots of capacity, lots of space, lots of immunizers ready to go, ready to immunize folks.
Inside the Vancouver Convention Centre at Canada Place, there's lots of space and no lineups, with Pfizer and Moderna vaccines available for all those walking in.
I missed mine on Saturday, so the walk-in kind of saved me. I think it's a great idea. I've been here less than 10 minutes, already got my dose.
Feels pretty normal. I'm really happy I got the shot, though. I feel more protected.
As people filed into clinics and mobile vaccination sites across the province, BC recorded 342 cases of COVID-19 on Wednesday. Half of those cases are in the interior health region. Despite this rise in cases, Dr. Bonnie Henry tells News 1130 she is confident the province will enter stage 4 of its reopening plan this September.
I'm confident that we're going to be in a good place here in BC, and today and this week is another opportunity for people to get protected.
On Tuesday, Health Minister Adrian Dix not ruling out introducing new restrictions.
So what it says to us right now is that we have to be very cautious. If there's a problem in a community, then we're going to take steps to protect people in that community. If there's a problem in a business, very likely the business will be closed down.
The BC Centre for Disease Control says vaccines remain to be very effective against the more infectious Delta variant of COVID-19. Minister Dix says the province will be ready to administer third doses if necessary, something that's starting to be done in other countries for certain populations.
But it's not needed yet. We haven't decided that yet. The scientific evidence doesn't say we should do it yet. But we have to be ready just in case that's the case.
Meantime, public health authorities hope to expand vaccine accessibility as COVID cases continue to spike.
You know, I think what we're going to be doing more and more as the campaign goes on is staying open to walk-ins, period. I think we're encouraging people to come today, but I think we're trying really hard not to turn anybody away.
For a full list of vaccination clinics and sites open late Wednesday and later this week, you can visit the BC government website. In Vancouver, Kier Junos, City News.
The cost of a pandemic vacation.
You're probably looking at adding another quarter to a third to the price.
What you need to know before leaving the country.
I worry that there could be rules and interpretations once I'm out of Canada.
Crews have spent the day trying to put out a fire that's badly damaged a condo building in the Newton neighborhood of Surrey. Flames broke out at around 5:30 last night. The building is located near 70A Avenue and 140th Street. Investigators are trying to figure out what started the fire and say the design of the roof is the main reason they're having such a difficult time putting it out. It's unclear when people living in the building will be able to get back into their homes.
Women in our community who will not sit back and watch this in silence.
An anti-racism rally was held in Surrey Tuesday night after a group of people say they were subjected to racist comments and garbage being thrown at them. Just ahead, what police have to say.
The wait times for those still able to cross the Canada-U.S. border are about to get a lot longer. About 9,000 Canadian Border Service Agency workers across the country will be walking off the job on Friday. The Customs and Immigration Union is demanding better working conditions for employees due to a toxic workplace culture. Border staff have been without a contract for 3 years. Friday's strike date falls 3 days before U.S. citizens who are fully vaccinated will be able to enter Canada since the border was closed back in March of last year.
Well, Pearson Airport is seeing an uptick in travelers as more people become comfortable flying. A lot of this has to do with high vaccination rates and the opening of borders. But if you are getting the itch to hop on a plane and leave the country, keep in mind that the vaccines you received could limit your options, and the COVID vacation does come with a heftier price tag.
What we're seeing is there's an incredible patchwork of acceptability and non-acceptability.
Carrie Bowman works in global health, and international travel is a big part of his job.
I worry that there could be rules and interpretations once I'm out of Canada that, are going to put me in a situation where I can't enter or I can't leave or who knows what.
Even fully vaccinated people may have to quarantine at their destination, depending on the brand or brands of vaccines they received. 13 European countries, including Italy and Portugal, are not recognizing Covishield, which is the AstraZeneca serum manufactured in India. Health Canada confirms to CityNews that more than 81,000 Canadians have at least one dose, and more than 3.1 million Canadians received a mix of vaccines. In some countries and several cruise lines will not recognize those travelers as fully immunized.
It speaks to a much larger problem that there really has been a glaring absence of global coordination of this pandemic. I would hope, but we haven't, that we would simply adopt World Health Organization standards of what are acceptable vaccines and move forward.
Right now, every country has its own requirements. The United Kingdom is forcing Canadians to test and quarantine regardless of their vaccination status, while nearby Ireland is one of many destinations that have a high-risk countries list, which could include Canada if cases suddenly rise. Then there's Cuba, which is currently waiving the testing requirement for Canadians traveling directly from Canada on Canadian flights. In Cuba, you can also skip quarantine if you're staying at an all-inclusive hotel.
The virus is changing travel almost on a day-by-day basis.
Is it even worth booking a trip right now?
Well, if you're going to do it, you make sure you got to take precautions and understand that it's going to increase your costs.
Depending on where you go, hospitality and tourism expert Wayne Smith tells me you'll need 2 to 4 PCR tests, and each could cost up to $200. He's also recommending beefed up insurance.
Make sure that you go out and check with your credit card company to see what is and what isn't covered, and if what's not covered, to go seek additional insurance.
So this gets pricey.
You're probably looking at adding another quarter to a third to the price.
Well, you no longer have to quarantine upon returning to Canada, but you do have to provide a negative test before leaving the airport. The experts say right now your best bet is to use this time to explore what our country has to offer. At Pearson Airport, Shauna Hunt, City News.
It's very hard. It's just too much. I'm looking after my mom. She's 88 years old. She has a severe dementia, and also she's stage 3 kidney failure. So it's very tough.
It's been a brutal year and a half for a number of women of color who lost their jobs amid layoffs, and all because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now a number of groups have signed a letter asking for these workers, many of whom are mothers, to be reinstated into the jobs they lost. The letter is addressed to a number of Lower Mainland hotels, the BC Hotel Association, and a number of provincial ministers. It says a number of those laid off are disproportionately racialized women. Lisa Secretaria is one of them. She's a night auditor at the Hilton Vancouver in Burnaby and has been there for more than 20 years.
I lost my mother-in-law in August, and then my brother in December from COVID-19. And then I was even very sick of the depression. Then April This year, April 15th, we got locked out.
And while she has no children, she has several people back home in the Philippines counting on her. Before this, she was sending money home to them, and often.
Even to support my family back home. The pandemic, and this lockout, I was not able to support them. Some of my family, my relatives back home lost their jobs.
They have borne the brunt of the pandemic for far too long. The hotel industry should not be using the pandemic as an excuse to get rid of women and immigrants, and instead should be bringing them back to their jobs as business recovers.
Both Fung and Secretariat say the employer has been quiet, though there is a willingness to talk with them if that is an option. City News reached out to the Hilton Metro Town and the province on this matter, but did not hear back by deadline. The BC Hotel Association has told City News its CEO, Ingrid Jarrett, is out of office until next week. Per Secretariat, she's desperate to see a resolution soon and fast.
What the hotel has done to the employee, firing 97 employees, just not right. And women like me, immigrants, women in color are struggling, are suffering, losing their job to support their family and to go on. And pandemic should not be the reason to get rid of us.
Another day of action is planned for Thursday. In Burnaby, Ria Renouf, City News. A racist incident in Surrey last week has inspired a rally Tuesday night against racism here in Aspen Park.
That they were not treated well because they don't speak English and disregarded is not acceptable.
It happened on Wednesday of last week. In a video shared to social media, someone can be heard yelling racist comments towards a group of South Asian seniors and children, including yelling, "We're in Canada, speak English, and go back to India." A family member says garbage was also thrown at them. Hundreds of people came out Tuesday night for the rally.
So I am just so glad we come together against discrimination, against racism, and we stop these little acts of racism at the first step.
I just very simply believe that there's no room for racism, whether it's individual racism or systemic racism. Surrey is such a diverse community, and we're in a park, and this is where kids play. You can see all around you, the families. Any issue we have can be resolved by talking, by simply having a conversation.
These kids and these grandmothers want to be safe in their park. It's not happening.
Surrey RCMP Sergeant Eleanor Sturko says while it's never okay to use racist insults, it likely doesn't meet the threshold for hate crime charges.
It's understandable that people in the community, particularly in the climate that exists, unfortunately, right now, I think it's not unreasonable that people would want more. They want us to do something. They want us to hold these individuals to account. And I get that. And all of us here were very alive to that, and alive to the fact that it's caused a significant amount of pain for people in the community. We don't have sufficient evidence at this time that would suggest that we would be going that direction.
I want to teach our future, our children, that it is very easy to deal with any issues we have, whether it's littering, whatever it might be, in a way that keeps everybody safe. What happened the other day is an act of racist violence, and a lot of community members wanted to have their voice heard. The family felt like their voices needed to be heard and to get a sense of justice.
The couple involved is apparently offering an apology. Meanwhile, those gathered at the rally are echoing the message that racism has no place in their community. In Surrey, Ashley Burr, City News.
They're likened to rotting fish, dirty socks, sort of old garbage.
This rare corpse flower, known for its infamous stench, will be back in full bloom here at the Blodell Conservatory. And I'm hoping to take my very first whiff of this BC attraction. I'm new to the province, so City News thought I should get up close in a couple weeks with what many describe as the scent of rotting meat. It's been named Uncle Fester. The tropical flower Amorphophallus titanum drew thousands when it last fully bloomed in 2018. And it's on its way to having its huge flower spike emerge in possibly 2 weeks. That's when a modified leaf unfolds, exposing tiny flowers at its base, and dead animal stank fills the room as the corpse flower tries to attract pollinator insects like beetles and flesh flies.
It actually is in full bloom during the nighttime. So with the colder temperature in the atmosphere, it pulses out heat, and that actually pushes the stench out into the sky. And when I opened the doors, when it first bloomed in 2018, the smell was very, very strong and sort of humid and thick. It was pretty unbelievable.
There's a 50-person capacity here in line with COVID-19 precautions, so the conservatory expects to sell out when the flower is in full bloom, which only lasts 24 to 36 hours. Growing at a rate of 4 inches a day with a corum 10 pounds heavier than it was in 2018, it's on track to be bigger and smellier than ever. But there's more to Uncle Fester than just the stench.
I mostly see folks just in awe of the plant. It's so incredibly beautiful. There's so many details in the stem. When the spathe opens, it has a frilly edge. It's stunning. And I think the size in itself is what attracts people, and obviously the smell.
So if you like the smell of rotten flesh wrapped up in a dirty diaper and then tossed into some hot garbage, tickets are on sale now. In Vancouver, Crystal Adaris, City News.
Sounds just delicious. Vancouver's news is always available on the radio with News 1130 or online anytime at citynews1130.com. Your next edition of City News is tonight at 11. Thank you for watching and have a great night.